Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into a genuinely beautiful, dialogue-driven story pulled directly from our source material. It centers entirely around a young boy's profound, deeply personal conversation with the divine. It's a really fascinating narrative, honestly, because it uses this everyday, simple bedtime scenario to tackle some of the absolute most complex human emotions we experience. Things like grief, failure, loneliness, and purpose. We are going to break this whole story down to understand the core lessons it has to offer us. But let's kick things off with a pretty massive hypothetical. If you had the chance to sit down and ask Jesus anything at all, like no limits, no filters whatsoever, what would you actually ask? Now, obviously, that's a hypothetical for most of us, but in the story we're exploring today, it isn't hypothetical at all. It is exactly what happens to our main character. Section 1. The Boy Named Raju, a story of curiosity and faith. Let's set the scene, shall we? So our source introduces us to this kid, Raju. He's just 6 years old, pale face, but the detail that really stands out is that his eyes are just full of these incredibly big questions. Raju loved his routine. Every single night, he'd sit with his grandma, listening so intently to Bible stories. And out of all the narratives he heard, his absolute favorites were always about Jesus. He wasn't just passively listening, though. His young mind was constantly churning, just bursting with curiosity. Section 2, Divine Conversation, a Bedtime Miracle. Now, what's super interesting here is how a completely normal bedtime routine flips the entire narrative. Picture this. One night, Roger is sitting completely alone in his room, and he just tosses out this incredibly simple, honest request out loud. He says, "Hey, Jesus, can you talk to me?" And just like that, the room suddenly lightens. Jesus actually appears right there in the room, introducing himself and telling Raju not to be afraid because he is there specifically to answer all of his questions. And the craziest part? Despite the initial shock, Raju isn't afraid at all. Actually, he laughs, completely ready to jump into it. Section 3. The 4 Big Questions, a Profound Dialogue. This brings us right to the core of our explainer. It's a fascinating back and forth where this tiny 6-year-old boy asks 4 incredibly deep human questions. Let's walk through them. Right out of the gate, Raju hits him with a totally heavy question. He basically asks about the nature of suffering and unconditional love. He wants to know how the divine can keep loving people who intentionally cause pain, or, as Raju specifically puts it, people who send you grief without your permission. It is a profound question about where we draw the lines on empathy and patience. Jesus responds by totally flipping the script on how we look at love. He explains that he loves through all of this because he holds a constant hope in his heart. According to the text, Jesus tells Raju, "Real love is without a doubt. When we love, we spread light, and light removes the darkness." So the absolute game changer we need to understand here is this working definition. Real love isn't framed as just some fuzzy feeling. It is an action, loving without a doubt. It acts as a literal mechanism, an act that actively spreads light to systematically remove darkness and grief from the world. And Raju just listens to this and absorbs the whole thing. Then Raju pivots. He taps into this universal anxiety that, let's be real, we all share, the fear of failure and feeling unworthy. He asks what happens when someone falls, or even worse, when they intentionally make mistakes that make them feel like they just aren't worthy anymore. And honestly, the response here is so incredibly grounding. Jesus reassures him that making mistakes is completely natural. It's an unavoidable part of existing. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to never stop moving forward. The text really emphasizes viewing every single mistake simply as a learning opportunity, rather than a reason to just throw in the towel. For question number 3, Raju voices something that transcends age entirely, the ache of loneliness. He just asks, "Sometimes I feel alone. Are you with me?" It's this intensely vulnerable moment where a child is just seeking some reassurance that there's unseen support out there in this massive world. Smiling, Jesus provides some deep comfort here. He says, "You can't see me, but I can handle your every tear. I hear your every dream." He's assuring Raju that he is present during absolutely every moment, every laugh, every cry, every random thought. Even though Raju can't physically see him, that divine presence is there. It's a promise of unwavering companionship. Okay, finally, Raju goes for the ultimate overarching question. He's covered suffering, failure, loneliness, And now he wants the absolute most important piece of wisdom Jesus has to offer. He asks, what is your biggest learning? This builds to a massive calling for such a small kid. Jesus laughs and gives him a clear directive. Never hate, learn to forgive, and share love. But the real kicker is this. He looks at Raju and says, you are a light, and your work is to spread the light in the world. He tells him to never worry because he is absolutely never alone. Section 4, A New Morning, Raju's Awakening. Right after that powerful revelation, the conversation ends. Raju opens his eyes, the room is empty, and it's just morning. Now, upon waking up alone, Raju doesn't panic. Actually, he thanks Lord Jesus for showing him his destination. He knows exactly what he needs to do. The source outlines this literal 3-step internal transformation that happens that exact day. First, he wakes up with a distinct peace on his face. Second, he actively starts to love everyone around him. And third, he begins to find genuine joy in every little thing life has to offer. And you know, that internal shift almost instantly becomes externally visible. People start noticing this special radiance and joy he carries. They actually comment on it. But Raju doesn't take the credit for a second. He just smiles and points back to the divine source, simply stating, this light has been given to me by Lord Jesus. Which perfectly tees up Section 5, the ultimate takeaway, the core lessons. The source material doesn't just leave us with a heartwarming story. It spells out the exact knowledge we are supposed to extract from Raju's experience. Let's look at those core lessons. Number 1, you are never alone. That unseen support is always there. Number 2, mistakes aren't permanent failures. They are quite simply learnings to help you grow. Number 3, the love of God isn't just some abstract external concept. It is literally within you, equipping you for anything. And finally, just like Raju, your ultimate purpose, regardless of how small you might feel, is to take that inner love and use it to spread light in the world. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final, pretty provocative thought. The source is telling us we can all be like Raju. We all have this exact same light. So the only real question left to answer is, how will you use the love inside you to spread light in the world today? Keep that in the back of your mind as you step forward. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this incredible narrative, and hey, keep seeking out those big answers.